Hey everyone, my name is Shanice and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be comparing and contrasting the 5 graphic novels in the Heartstopper series and the Heartstopper Netflix 2-season so far adaptation of those graphic novels. For a little background, Alice Oseman actually published these as a very short webcomic, I think in 2016. And because it gained a lot of popularity, she decided to expand it into fully fledged graphic novels and then a series. And first it was 5 volumes, but now that the 5th one is out, there's actually going to be a 6th volume, which is apparently going to be the last, but who actually knows? This series exists within a wider universe, so Alice Oseman's standalone novels, which include Radio Silence and Solitaire, those have characters that are featured in the Heartstopper series. I believe Radio Silence features the character Elle, and Solitaire features Tori. Elle is one of the main character's best friends, and Tori is one of the main character's sister. It makes sense that a webcomic or just a series in general that was so popular online was made into a Netflix TV show. Alice Oseman was really adamant about casting real young people whose identities reflect those of the characters that they will be portraying, which honestly, I know I'm not fully into my reviews yet, but that is one of the highlights of the TV series, and also just the vast representation is a highlight of both the original source and also the adaptations. The first series of the Netflix adaptation has 8 episodes and came out in 2022 and became a huge hit, and immediately seasons 2 and 3 were greenlit. Season 2 also had 8 episodes and came out in 2023, and honestly they did start filming season 3 in October of last year. But at the rate that this series is produced and made and then edited and released, who knows, we might get season 3 this year. The general premise of the story in Heartstopper is centered around Charlie Spring. He is around 15 years old, he's in year 10, and the previous year he was outed as gay. Since that moment he was severely bullied and has sort of been keeping to his own small friend group, which consists of Tao, Alid, and Elle. He has an older sister named Tori who despite having very few lines in the graphic novels, when she does appear, she's hilarious. Charlie lives in a happy, supporting household. His mom, though, is a little bit strict. Not as much as other parents in the book, but she definitely wants Charlie to prioritize his grades, because if he's not top of the class, he always gets top grades and is incredibly intelligent and active. He plays the drums. Later on he gets involved in sports. But yeah, Charlie is lucky to have the loved ones around him support him and embrace him and his sexuality. So one day Charlie, for the new school year, he is assigned to, I guess, a different form. I'm not totally familiar with the UK education system, but I guess a form is like a homeroom. So he is assigned to this new form. He goes to the classroom and he sees that he has to sit next to a new kid, a new classmate. And this classmate, his name is Nick Nelson. Nick is a rugby player. He's sort of popular. He has his own group of friends. They're all on the rugby team, and they are kind of the jokesters, the charismatic bunch of kids in the class. And immediately Charlie and Nick find an unexpected connection, because I guess you could say Nick is maybe at first glance the stereotypical jock, although kind of the jock that gets along with everybody, but you, I guess, wouldn't assume that him and Charlie would connect as much as they do. But of course, Alice Oseman is challenging those very stereotypes, and from that moment that they lock eyes with each other, a romance erupts. In terms of general vibes and general theme, this is a very cute, very feel-good, very warm, and wholesome and wholehearted series. I think if you go into it expecting realism and grit, you will be severely disappointed, but I don't know why you would go into the series with that expectation. I mean, let me just show you the books. I haven't done that yet, but just the color palette of the series, nothing about this should give you gritty vibes. This is light and fun. Because they're graphic novels, they move so quickly. And let me just show you quickly the covers of each of the volumes. I mentioned earlier 5 are out. The 5th one came out late last year. So this is volume 1, and it looks like that. Volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, and lastly, for now, volume 5. This series is a coming of age, of course, but it's about reckoning with parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed, the confusion that occurs when that happens, when you're learning more about yourself, about things you didn't know about yourself. It is about dealing with trauma. It is about the diversity within the queer community. Not everyone is as accepting as I guess you would assume they would be. It explores found family. It also explores the vast representation of families and loved ones and how they react to a loved one, a friend coming out, and also unpacks the coming out process, why it's necessary, should it ever really be necessary. The answer is no, but of course these young kids are discovering that for themselves. It's also just about first love, having a crush on someone, the nerves of how to ask them out, balancing school with extracurriculars and family life and hobbies. Like, it is a regular kind of high school but not high school, I guess second form. Apologies for those in the UK. I hope that is the equivalent of like a high school. It is that typical teenage coming of age romance, fun drama, but comedy, but very lighthearted and feel good and cute. I would say that my favorites within the series are, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but volume 3 and volume 5. My main reason is, well, first of all, each of the volumes kind of functions as a TV episode, where there is almost like a prompt or like one question or one issue that people are trying to solve, and by the end of it they address the issue and they go on with their lives. It's not so much the rise and fall and meandering kind of storylines of full-on novels. That's my experience with reading other graphic novels. This is more like almost a short story, but graphic novel form. And so, whereas the other volumes to me didn't give the issue at hand like the most time that I felt it needed, I felt that volume 3 and volume 5 both did. The main question or issue here in volume 3 is Nick coming to terms with his bisexuality, all of the questions that he has about it, about the pressure of coming out. It's also partially set in Paris. The class goes on a Paris trip for about 5 days. It definitely does romanticize Paris. I thought the depictions of Paris in here and places like the Louvre and Montmartre were very accurate. Like, you can tell Osman has been to Paris. The line that Darcy, who is one of Charlie and Nick's friends, and also the girlfriend to another main character named Tara, or Tara, she sees the Mona Lisa and the only line that she has during that scene is, "It's rubbish," because it's so small and it's hyped up. It looks that way amidst the big, large, grandiose paintings and artwork in the Louvre. This had the romance between some teachers, and it talks about how some people don't come to terms with their sexuality until later in life. This gave me like Call Me By Your Names and Normal People vibes, but YA, much cuter and less sad. Darcy also gives me Kristen Stewart vibes. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And similarly, I liked volume 5 because I thought that the issue at hand, which is mainly university applications, figuring out if long distance is going to be a thing, or, you know, figuring out their feelings about that, that main thesis point was given adequate amount of time to develop and conclude in a way. To me, it didn't feel like anything was left open-ended. It just felt like a fully fledged out episode. So I really like this, and I just love Elle. She's a character here. She's trans, and she's so independent. She is going off to an art university, and though she is in a relationship with another main character, she just very confidently knows what she wants and thinks she should prioritize her future, and that her boyfriend should be understanding, right? I love that confidence. I love that assuredness in herself. She's one of my favorite characters. Volumes 1 and 2 were not bad at all. I guess compared to the richness of volume 3 and the completeness to me of volume 5, they just weren't my favorites, but I thought they were still good. Volume 4 is honestly my least favorite, just because the main topic here, though it was sort of dealt with in volume 3, it became the main character and the main plot point here, and I just kind of don't think it was developed enough. The plot got into it in full force and then kind of resolved itself by the end, but it just doesn't seem like a topic that resolves itself that quickly. But I did love the support that that character dealing with that trauma got. I think it did explore how the people around someone suffering from an eating disorder can be affected, but it doesn't take away the fact that the person affected is the main thing. And also, I didn't think that it was hinted at very much, if at all, in volume 1 or 2, so I don't know, I still kind of feel like it came out of nowhere. But yeah, I would say this was my least favorite. I liked the meta references within the graphic novels to other Alice Oseman works. So sometimes characters will be on the bus reading Radio Silence, or in someone's bookshelf in their room they will have Solitaire. So I thought that was pretty clever, pretty cute, and it is consistent throughout each volume, and actually does make its way to the TV series as well. So though these are very fun, very light, addictive, they're page turners. I'm telling you, I read all 5 in under 24 hours. Just grab a cozy drink, a warm blanket, and just sit down and get to reading, because these are very addictive. But I will say, I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of the drawing style. It tends to be a little simplistic. I've just, you know, read other graphic novels where the art style is just so intricate and complex. Not to say that it needs to be. Every artist and writer is different. But, you know, it's just something I noticed. And also sometimes the proportions were a little inconsistent. There were maybe redundant text over images, but it's nothing that, you know, stopped me from really loving my reading experience. It's just, you know, personal taste. So let's see what volume 6 has in store for us. Who knows when it's coming out, and who knows if it's actually going to be the last installment. I kind of hope it's not. I would love for these to just keep going, but for now we still have the Netflix TV show. Now, as an adaptation, I thought the TV show was fantastic. In some ways, I think it works better than the graphic novel. In other ways, not so much. I think the ways in which it works is, one, they came after a lot of the volumes were published, so that disorder that I mentioned that kind of came out of nowhere in the graphic novel, they were able to hint at it from season 1. It didn't feel like it blindsided you. There were some character elements in the graphic novels that made it feel like Alice Oseman was just kind of coming up with ideas as she went, and it clearly wasn't backstory that she had thought of from volume 1. For example, Nick being half French, or Charlie being half Spanish. His father has family from Spain. In the graphic novel, it was just like all of a sudden Charlie's Spanish grandparents were coming over. You know, it never was hinted at before that he was Spanish. And volume 3 is when Nick reveals that his father is French and that he does speak French. But in the TV show, they had more opportunity to include those little character details from the very beginning. Casting was phenomenal. I thought the actor who played Tao was amazing. The standouts for me, though, were the actor who played Nick and Elle. Kit Connor plays Nick, and oh my goodness, season 2 in particular, he just is so genuine in his iteration of Nick. You feel a true connection between him and Joe Locke, who plays Charlie, but hands down, Yasmin Finney, who plays Elle, might be my favorite. There's something so peaceful about when she comes onto the screen. She's so authentic, and you just feel that inner peace coming from her in every scene. Everything is so natural. It doesn't feel like she's trying too hard. It just worked for me. I loved every moment of her and William Gao, who plays Tao. I thought Kizzy Edgell as Darcy was great. Spot on to how Darcy was in the comics. Olivia Colman as Nick's mom is a darling. Nima Telegani as Mr. Farouk might be my favorite thing of season 2. He's so funny and like grumpy and irritated all the time. Even the side characters like him get their own moments. And that's one other thing that I did appreciate about the series. It was able to elaborate on some points that the novels didn't, like Elle and how she felt going to the new girls' school after she transitioned. The book doesn't really get to that, but the show does, and it shows how she has to find new friends and how she finds her group, and just, I mean, it's obviously something that she struggled with that isn't mentioned in the book but is implied. But we get to see that play out in the TV show. Same with the character of Alid, who is in the graphic novels, is not in the adaptation, but is sort of filled in by a new character named Isaac. He is a book lover I could definitely relate to. He, at one point when he goes to Shakespeare and Company in Paris, he just comes back with this pile of books. That is me in a bookstore. And I love the little line about the Penguin cloth-bound editions later on in the second season. And the inclusion of how he's exploring asexuality is great, and shows blind spots within the queer community. His friend group kind of doesn't understand asexuality. They assume everyone just has a crush and wants to kiss and has those feelings for other people, but they don't even consider that actually not everyone does. So great, just fantastic representation. And I loved that a lot of the cast actually shares the identities of their characters, like Kit Connor being bisexual as well as the character Nick. It just gave it so much more authenticity, and you can see how they really connected to some of the dialogue and some of those powerful scenes in here in ways that maybe others who don't share the identity would have been able to. So it's a treasure. I think that's a great positive for the show. The motif of the little leaves and how they represent love and like intimacy and infatuation and happy moments was kept for the TV show, which is great. I couldn't help get excited when like the little sparks, the little animated sparks were on screen. It was so cute. That's another thing the show incorporates, the illustrative style of the graphic novels in the motif in like electric sparks and little hearts popping on the screen, and the color palette of the show matches that of the graphic novels. If anything, I'm clearly not the demographic for this series, but so like some of the music was a little on the nose for me, and some of the dialogue sometimes was very like Disney Channel. However, this is meant to be for an age group around the ages of the characters. So I imagine that when I was that age, I was still interested in Disney Channel. And so it's just a complaint, I guess, but not really. But really is a reflection of the fact that I'm old. At 30, I'm old for the series. So, you know, the music was a little eh. How they could afford a Taylor Swift song is shocking, but hey, great addition. And also the other songs that weren't Taylor Swift were kind of like wannabe Taylor Swift or wannabe Lana Del Rey, so I give it its props for the Taylor Swift moment at the end. The show definitely gave Darcy a wider backstory. We do see her mom in the show, and again, it gives you just so many layers of how different families react to someone's coming out differently. In this case, Darcy hasn't come out to her mother, and it's because her mother is so conservative, so homophobic really, that she doesn't feel comfortable doing that, and she probably never will. So many layers, so many nuances. I really do appreciate that about this TV series. But a question, where do these kids get their money? At one point, Darcy gets to buy a suit, but she can't afford it because she spent all her money in Paris, but like her friends chip in their cash. From where? Like, we don't hear of anyone having part-time jobs or anything. Do they just, their allowance? Like, I don't understand, but they have some money and I don't know from where. I did love the addition of having Charlie write Charlie Loves Tao on the lock for when they were in Paris. So cute. And so all in all, I really did like the screen adaptation. I think, again, in some ways it was a little bit better than the graphic novels, but just feel good, fun. I think everyone needs a moment like this in their lives. If you're feeling a little low, I say pop this on, because I really enjoyed it and it made my President's Day weekend. I did a 24-hour readathon and I managed to read the series then and watch most of the TV adaptations. So highly recommend, and I can't wait for season 3. But thank you so much for watching. I hope I inspired some of you to pick up these graphic novels. The hype on these is true. You will definitely have a blast. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.